Chapter 1. What is a salamander? Salamanders are amazing creatures that have been on this earth even longer than humans have. I remember the first time I saw a salamander was when I was camping with my family at about 8 years old. It was a blue-spotted salamander that was hiding under a log, and right away I wanted to know as much as possible about this unusual creature. I began to go through every salamander book that I could find so that I could one day own a salamander of my own. However, when most people hear the word salamander, they don't always know exactly what it refers to. Many people tend to assume that salamanders are just a type of lizard, but this is certainly not the case. Salamanders are their own unique species of animal that are unlike anything else. They can be kept as a pet or dwell in the wild. But either way, they are amazing creatures that the world should know more about. A salamander could be a great pet for you without you even realizing it. Appearance. Most salamanders have a similar shape to lizards, which is why the two animals are often confused. Salamanders have a long, skinny body with a long tail and 4 short legs. However, their skin is smooth and a bit slimy to the touch, similar to how a frog's skin is. Because of this soft exterior, salamanders are more delicate than other creatures, so they will usually be seen hiding to avoid getting injured or hunted. Every salamander species looks slightly different. This is because they can come in a wide variety of different colors and patterns. Most salamanders are small, but they can actually come in varying sizes and shapes. Some salamanders may even be completely aquatic with external lungs, while others might not even have lungs at all. How a salamander appears greatly depends on the species, but for the most part, they all share the same general body shape and smooth skin. The color of a salamander depends on the species because some salamanders are a dark color to blend in with their surroundings, while others are bright colored to scare off predators. Salamanders can be completely black, spotted with a brighter color, or even just one vibrant color, such as red. Salamanders also usually have dark, beady eyes and a mouth that's shaped almost as if they're smiling. The description may not sound the most appealing, but if you look at pictures or see a salamander in person, you will find that they are adorable little creatures. While the shape of a salamander may be extremely close to a lizard, if you look closely, you can easily tell the difference not only because of their smooth skin, but based on many other features as well. This is because these two creatures fall under different categories of animals. Salamanders are classified as amphibians, while lizards are reptiles. Amphibians versus reptiles. When it comes to animals, there are multiple different categories that they can be classified under. These categories are mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, fish, and invertebrates. Each class has its own unique characteristics to set them apart from the others, meaning that if salamanders and lizards are in 2 different categories, then they must be more different than they appear. An amphibian can be defined as a cold-blooded vertebrate that is typically distinguished by their smooth skin. They typically start off their lives with an aquatic, gill-breathing larva, which grows into a land-dwelling, lung-breathing adult. The types of animals that fall under this classification are frogs, toads, newts, salamanders, and caecilians. Then, a reptile is classified as a cold-blooded vertebrate that is distinguished by its scaly exterior. Reptiles also generally lay their eggs on land instead of in the water. Lizards, snakes, turtles, tortoises, alligators, and crocodiles are all different types of reptiles. Therefore, reptiles and amphibians are different because even though both are cold-blooded animals, amphibians have soft, smooth skin, while reptiles are covered in scales. Reptiles also typically have more ways of protecting themselves than amphibians do. While most amphibians are soft and fragile, reptiles typically have sharp claws and teeth to protect themselves from danger. Also, as mentioned earlier, amphibians go through a transition from larva to adult, where their gills typically transform in lungs as they grow. Reptiles are born with lungs that they keep their whole life. They will grow larger as they age, but they will not go through any drastic changes like an amphibian would. Another notable difference between reptiles and amphibians is their eggs. Amphibians typically lay very soft, fragile eggs in the water or in a very damp area. Reptiles lay eggs on land, and their eggs typically have a hard, leathery exterior. Even if they are a reptile that lives in the water, like a turtle, they will still lay their eggs on land. Then the hatchlings will have to find their way into the water. Amphibians are born in the water and will stay there until they develop into their adult stages, which is what makes them unique. Salamanders versus lizards. Since salamanders are amphibians, while lizards are reptiles, the two actually have a lot of differences if you observe them closely. One of the most noticeable differences is their skin. Salamanders have a smooth exterior that is almost slimy to the touch. However, lizards have skin that is covered with a dry layer of scales. While some lizards have softer scales, such as geckos, their skin will still be rougher than a salamander's, which is a simple way to tell the difference at first glance. However, if you see a salamander or lizard in the wild, it is best to just observe their skin and try not to touch it, since that could harm or startle the animal. Since salamanders have such a smooth, delicate exterior, they need to be kept moist at all times to keep their skin healthy. This means that they occasionally need to dip themselves in a puddle of water, or they need to stay in a moist area at all times. Lizards need to drink water, but they don't need the extreme amount of moisture that salamanders require. Lizards can dwell in dry areas, and some species will even live in deserts, but you will never find a salamander in those arid climates. Salamanders must stay in a moist environment to survive. Another major difference is that lizards usually have teeth or claws to protect themselves or hunt for prey with. However, salamanders do not usually have anything sharp on their bodies, making it harder for them to defend themselves. Some salamanders have small teeth in the back of their mouths, but nothing more than that. When salamanders hunt for their prey, they typically just swallow it whole since they are unable to chew it. Some salamanders may be able to release toxins if hunted, but this ability does not apply to every species. However, salamanders do have one unique way of protecting themselves that lizards don't. While lizards can drop their tails and regenerate them to protect themselves from predators, salamanders can actually regenerate any body part if something happens to it. This not only includes their tail, but it can also work for their legs, eyes, and even organs. Therefore, even if a salamander does get hurt, it can heal itself more easily than other animals can. There are a few other small differences that can be seen between salamanders and lizards. One is the fact that lizards have 5 toes on each of their feet, but salamanders have 5 toes on their back feet and only 4 on their front feet. Lizards also usually have visible holes for their ears, but salamanders do not. While these might seem like just some minor differences between the two, they can still help you determine which is which just by closely looking at them. Salamander sizes. Salamanders have a wide variety of sizes, which are determined by measuring the length from the head to the tip of the tail. The average salamander usually grows to be anywhere from 3 to 8 inches long, but it depends on the species. Most of the salamanders that can be kept as a pet will fall in this range, meaning that they are small enough to hold in your hand. However, not all salamanders are guaranteed to fall into this size category. Some breeds may be much shorter or even much larger. The smallest breeds of salamanders can be as short as an inch long, while there are giant